I'm Ed Rabyd, otherwise known as the Rabyd Atheist, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the videos you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like. The purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues and other issues related to this, issues such as politics, Bible, theology, philosophy, and whatever else comes across my plate. Today, I'm doing a rabid ramble. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I have like 3 topics here that I think I need to address given the last few days. And it's because the topics are related to some of the comments that have come up in the last 3 days, particularly from theists. And I need to address those comments, but I also think it's good to have on record what I think about certain issues. And so I think I can cover all 3 of these issues in a ramble rather than doing a longer video on all of them. The first one of these issues is near-death experiences. We had a commenter that really wanted to press this as proof for God's existence. And I want to state for the record, I don't think it proves any damn thing, even if they were true. Even if a person perceives that they saw something, that doesn't necessarily mean that they actually left this world into a next one and saw something of that next world. The problem I have with near-death experiences, and I have read a little bit about this, I'm certainly no expert on it, and I simply looked at them and I said, no, except as you're dying, I am fairly certain that your brain is firing everywhere. And if you're unconscious, you're kind of in a sort of semi-dream state. And so you're going to see a lot of things, okay? As you go into death and then you die and all that kind of shuts down or slows down or completely disappears, you know, it's all that encoding of your brain, all the memories of all those flashes are still going to be there. And so when you're brought back, all that memory and what you experienced and what you went through is still there, and it reignites and you can recall it and everything else. A lot of people that have near-death experiences, you know, kind of change their life, or they get some sort of moral compass or whatever, depending on what they see. The problem is whatever they see could be simply the same product of any kind of dream state or any kind of state in which the mind is influenced by something else. I think I read somebody that said it's kind of like being on some forms of drugs because it fires certain neurons that may not normally fire in any other situation. Your whole body, as you're dying, is under a tremendous amount of stress, and your brain is going to react accordingly, trying to figure out what the problem is and trying to fix it. So, yeah, you're going to have all kinds of things. You're unconscious. A whole bunch of things can affect you when you're unconscious, and you'll remember stuff that didn't even happen, or you'll forget stuff that is important or whatever. And you're going to see a lot of things and interpret that through whatever lens that you have been brought up with. And so I don't find them convincing as proof of life after death or even God, because there's just too much interpretation, too much personal experience in that. I have already made a video of why personal experience doesn't convince anybody, including yourself. It's not true evidence even to yourself that God is true, okay? Because in order to assume that, you have to assume that your interpretation of those experiences is infallible. You can't maintain that, and also believe in the fallibility of human beings. You could be looking at your experiences and the things that you believe in an infallible way, and that just is not necessarily true. So as far as near-death experiences, you know, until somebody actually presents me some sort of peer-reviewed study, and I would actually wonder from an ethical standpoint how they got that information, because in order to really do a peer-reviewed study on near-death experiences, we'd actually have to have people voluntarily going into death and then reviving them. And I would think that based on every ethical code I've seen about research, that's unethical and illegal as shit. So I'm not a big keen fan of that. So we really don't know anything. It's as nebulous as, you know, many other things that are spiritual. It's a little bit of woo factor, so I'm kind of out of there. The second thing I want to talk about is I've had several theists over the years make the claim that atheism is a religion. Now, I'm going to read a definition of religion. In fact, I'm going to read 3 of them. And the first one is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. The second definition is a particular system of faith and worship. 3, a pursuit or interest in which someone ascribes supreme importance. They give the example, consumerism is the new religion. Now, as I look at these 3 definitions, I am wondering where the hell theists get the idea that atheism is religion. First of all, we don't believe in or worship any superhuman controlling power. So the first definition doesn't apply to atheism right out the gate, especially a personal god or gods. Yeah, no, I don't believe in any of that. So the first definition of a religion doesn't apply to atheism at all. In fact, atheism is negation of that definition, that we don't believe in or worship a superhuman controlling power, and we don't believe in or worship any personal god or gods. The second definition doesn't apply to atheism either, a particular system of faith and worship. I don't have faith in anything, and I don't worship anything. I find faith is one of the most overrated, quote-unquote, virtues there is. In fact, I would say that it's not a virtue. The thing about defining religion is, I will note that defining religion is a very controversial thing, but most definitions go along these lines. And so, I'm not cutting against that, but these first 2 definitions, from my perspective, don't define atheism at all. In fact, atheism would probably be the antithesis of both these worship. In fact, I know it is. So what about the last one? A pursuit of or interest to which somebody ascribes supreme intelligence. I don't know if that's such an accurate definition or an analogy, that you're analogizing devotion to a religion to devotion to an ideology. I will say this, that devotion to any kind of ideology can be a cult. I've listened a lot to Telltale over the years in his Bite model, and he has done things outside of what would be considered religious, but he also deals with things that are very cultic. And, you can be devoted to a political ideology. You can be devoted to a political movement to the point that your devotion to it is cultic and very religious in that sense. I have maintained that I think political parties are a little bit cultic over the years. I think in general, just because, they have certain things where they control information, they demand loyalty to the bite, the talking points and everything else. And so I don't buy all that bullshit. And so I don't necessarily follow that. I think multi-level marketing schemes are cults too at times, because there's a very cultic devotion to them. But none of those are religions, and we wouldn't define them as religions. I know atheists, and this is not a criticism so much as an observation, that once they leave their theism, particularly, this is a deconversion issue, because I see a lot of people, they come out of a religion that was like really extremely right, okay, and, pro-life, pro-capital punishment, pro-Christian, Judeo-Christian ethic and all that, and they come out of that and they realize, oh, well, I don't believe in any of the faith that backs all that up, and they make the erroneous assumption, for instance, that somehow they need to completely flip their political ideology in order to be good atheists, and that's not necessarily true. I did not do that. In fact, I was talking on the last episode of Atheist Republic, which actually had to appear on Arvin's channel, because Atheist Republic is going through a lot of attacks by YouTube because supposedly they promote hate speech and they promote, people not getting vaccinated or whatever, when I watched both those episodes now in retrospect and say that's none of that. YouTube is completely wrong about them. So they're going through some struggles. But on that particular broadcast, I got into a discussion, I think with a guy called Blank Name. And we talked about the fact that I didn't want to be a person that just flips ideology and just becomes this pro-choice, anti-capital punishment person without really thinking about those 2 issues deeply. And that's because there are atheists who are pro-capital punishments. There are also atheists that are pro-life. One of the most notable, probably pro-life persons, although I could never find anything in that where I could find a definitive statement by him of why he was pro-life is Christopher Hitchens. And of course, he's dead, so there's no real way to ask him or probe for the answer on that. But he seems to have a much more pro-life position than most atheists. And what I'm talking about here is, yes, I think some atheists can get very religious or cultic about certain political or ideological movements, but that doesn't necessarily relate to their atheism per se, other than their atheism may have triggered the idea that they needed to switch everything over to the other side. I am very pro-LGBTQ because I've had a lot of time to think about that one, because that's actually a question that's a little bit close to me personally as somebody who is naturally polyamorous. So I have had to examine my own convictions about LGBTQ and examine them. I accept a lot of it. There's still a lot of questions I have, particularly regarding trans, from a scientific point of view, but I'm still trying to, I haven't made any definitive decisions. And I think, to me, that's the way to, as a deconversion issue, and it's some deconversion advice. Just because you leave this conservative Christian area, don't assume that flipping to the left is the right idea. Okay, you need to analyze every issue based on its own merit instead of just following the herd on the left side of the aisle. Okay, I think one of the dangers, what religion, being involved in religion, taught me was there's a very real danger of following the herd. Well, if you just switch herds, you're still following somebody blindly without really thinking about the issues. And for me, as deconversion advice to you, if you're deconverting, stop and think about every issue. Give it the once over in your head. What are your values? What do you think about it? What are the arguments on both sides? And then reevaluate all your viewpoints. It's why I'm a libertarian atheist and not a liberal atheist. I'm a classical liberal atheist, but that's my ideology. But that's because I spent a lot of time thinking about the issues, and there's a few issues I just don't agree with the liberals on. But, like probably some political issues, me and Telltale would probably disagree, but I'll lockstep with him when some bastard, if you recall, some guy, his daughter recorded the teacher violating the law, and then they all came after him, so he had to move. I'll lockstep with Telltale Atheists saying that that's bullshit, and they need to stop doing that. Just because he doesn't believe in anything doesn't mean you get to treat him like that. And so you have to be careful with this idea of atheism being religion, but there's a lot of ideologies. Yeah, you could become religion, but the first two definitions, nope. Third definition, I'm not sure if that relates directly to atheism, other than some of the behaviors of atheists when they engage other things. I see religious devotion, for instance, to humanism. Yeah, maybe, but is that directly related to atheism? No, because there's plenty of Christian humanists and other types of humanists. All right, my last topic is, how do you get banned from commenting on my channel? For a long time, since I started the channel, I made it very clear that I don't allow ad hominem attacks. I don't allow personal attacks. If you get in the comments and start calling somebody an idiot, you'll get a warning. And by the way, you get one ad hominem attack for your lifetime on this channel. Use it well, because I will bring the hammer down on that one, and I already have several times. I've had several commenters get on here, and I had one just like a couple weeks ago that just called me an idiot, insinuated all things about my character. I told him, I says, all right, you've just used up your ad hominem attack. Do it one more time and I'll block you from commenting. And lo and behold, he did it again. And I blocked him from commenting, and I gave him no second thought, by the way. I am trying to create an environment here that is very much a safe space for those of you that have deconverted. My main issue is atheism and deconversion. Now, you may have deconverted and you're not completely an atheist. Say you're a deist or an agnostic, although I would say that anybody who's an agnostic is probably also an atheist, because they have no active belief in a god or gods. But at the same time, they're like, well, how can we really know? But to me, epistemology and belief in God are two different things. But if you come on here though and you start going after somebody personally, it's the quickest way to get banned. It's the quickest way to get me, cutting you off from being able to comment. put it this way, theists, if you're listening to this, I would not go into your church and start yelling that you're all a bunch of liars. And I wouldn't call the pastor a liar. I wouldn't get in his face. I wouldn't, call him a bunch of names. Now, if I run into a pastor in, say, a coffee house and, we're friends or acquaintances, he sits down and he starts talking about his beliefs, and I say, well, I don't believe that. And I would lay out why I don't find his evidence convincing. And I would have a good discussion with him. That's what you're looking for here. I would not come into your church and do that kind of thing. So don't come into my channel and start being a jerk, okay? Because I'll shut you down pretty quick. I've kind of added another one. If you're a troll, if you're a Christian troll, you're not going to last very long. We had a recent incident over the last 3 days of a guy just commenting, and I kept asking him, because that's why I talk about the near-death experiences at the beginning, because this was the big proof to him. And I kept asking, I think I asked him at least 3 times, would you please give me your peer-reviewed study that proves what you're saying, that near-death experience kind of indicate that maybe there's an afterlife and maybe there's a God? He wouldn't do it. He literally would not do it. And he kept, I'm not going to do that. I want to ease you into this slowly. And, he was the one that kind of accused me again of atheism being a religion. And, that's why I talked about those 2 things, because that's fine if you want to believe that, but you better back that shit up. Okay. And I know that for a lot of you that comment on this channel regularly, I think he went after a lot of you. I don't think he missed anybody who commented in the last couple of days where he didn't comment back and say, yeah, in some way, shape, or form, you're dumb or whatever. He didn't come out and say those things. He was very cautious about not doing ad hominem. But he was also very annoying because every one of us, I think, asked him for his evidence. Give us your argument. Give me your peer-reviewed study on near-death experiences. You say, I think one of the big claims he made is, Aaron Ra and Matt Dillahunty never want to touch this because they know if they ever touched it, they would lose and they would suddenly have to stop being atheists. And, I went to YouTube search and Google search, and I started researching both of those individuals, Aaron Ra and Matt Dillahunty. And Matt Dillahunty very often deals with that question on his show, The Atheist Experience. It comes up a lot and has over the last 10 years. To think he's swept it under the rug and not addressed it, I'd say that's pretty much nonsensical. That's just not true. And the same is true with Aaron Ra. He's gotten in debates with people about this and addressed it directly. And I thought, one debate I watched, I thought he handled it very well. He just said, your evidence is not convincing because it's really personal experience. And it has all the same problems as all the rest of the arguments from personal experience. So I've kind of added a second rule. If you start trolling my channel, I'm going to ban you. I'm going to block your ass. Because I finally got to the point where I said, dude, put up or shut up. Either give me your peer-reviewed study in the next post, or you're done. Okay, I'm going to block you. And, it's like he didn't hear that. I know he said to one of you that, mission accomplished. I won again, because nobody can answer my questions about. Yeah, actually, we did answer your questions, and we kept asking for you to give us, your evidence. But you never gave evidence. You made a lot of, this guy made a lot of assertions with no evidence. Over and over, assertion. Can you give me proof of that? Can you give me proof of that? I just got tired of talking with him because it was wearying to keep asking for the same thing. And you're just being on my channel, taking up everybody's time, and you're not really engaged in any conversation. You just keep making the same baseless assertions. He even claimed, I thought, the Rabyd Atheist is an expert on the Shroud of Turin. I have never made such a claim on this channel that I'm an expert in the Shroud of Turin. I think the Shroud of Turin is bullshit based on the evidence I've been presented by it. I've kind of looked at it and said, yeah, it's awful convenient that we have a picture of Jesus as exactly as Westerners would imagine him inside a cloth. That's kind of interesting. And I'm not sure that that's the way burial practices were done in those days. So it kind of really is weird to me. But anyway, it looks like more of a piece of artwork to me than anything else that got out of hand. So, but I've never claimed to be an expert on the Shroud of Turin. Okay, I never. And I flat out told him, I don't know where you got that, but I've never claimed that. I don't know what you're talking about. And yet he kept going on about it a couple more times. So, you're making false accusations about me. You're making false accusations about Aaron Ra. You're making false accusations about Matt Dillahunty. I keep asking for evidence. You won't provide it. You keep, avoiding doing that. You keep running away from my requests for this information. I would be happy to debate near-death experiences if you give me some flippant evidence to deal with or an argument for it. And it just got frustrating. So now there are two ways to get blocked from commenting on my channel. Engage in an ad hominem attack, or if I assess that you're a fucking troll. Okay, I have tried to create a space here, everybody. I hope everybody respects this, that enjoys this channel. Respect these two things. Don't be annoying in your comment. If somebody asks you for information, give them the goddamn information. Because when you avoid giving them the information, you've already said something to me that you either A, are talking out of your ass, or you don't know what you're talking about, which are kind of sort of the same things. But you're either being malicious about it or you're being ignorant about it. And I just don't have time for either one, or personally attack somebody. I just don't have the patience for that anymore. I'm getting too fucking old to deal with people that want to waste my time with a fruitless conversation, which is really how I felt after a day and a half of dealing with this guy. I'm like, we haven't done anything here but exchange things. I keep trying to address some of the things that you come up with. You keep making the same assertions, but you don't give me evidence. I ask for evidence. You don't give it to me. I felt like I was really wasting my time. And I don't want to waste my time. Okay. Time is precious to me as an atheist because it's the only life I get. And so I want to make sure that my discussions with people are fruitful and that sort of thing. So that's the way to get blocked from my channel now. I have two rules, two things I'm evaluating on. Don't annoy people here and don't attack them personally. This is a place of civil conversation about these issues. I don't mind theists being here. I don't mind deists being here. I don't mind any type of religiosity. You can be a fucking Odinist pagan here, and I actually might have some interesting conversations with you. Don't be a dick and don't attack people personally, and we won't have a problem. I will never have a problem with any comment that you make. This week I've also had a respectful conversation, but I kind of dropped it because I think, I'm not going to get anywhere with this guy. He believes what I believe, wants to believe. I believe what I don't believe anything that he's talking about. And I felt after a couple exchanges, I just wasn't going to get anywhere. So I just dropped it. Nothing new there, but just be respectful. This is not hard. But I'm going to tell you, I think probably some of you experienced this over the last few days where you really wanted to call this guy an asshole. And I respect the fact that all of you that did comment kept your cool. I respect that. No, and please keep that up. I know it's hard. As atheists, we get all kinds of shit. I don't think there's a month that goes by that isn't some asshole that comes on my channel and starts calling me names. And it's like, oh, fine. I guess you want to be blocked from commenting. I am really trying to create a safe space here, folks. And if along with that, this is a good reason to subscribe to Facebook, my Facebook page, because if you're having a problem, because my channel, while it's not growing as fast as it was a few weeks ago, my channel is growing. And there's going to come a point where I can't keep track of every single comment. There's just going to be too many. This last guy, there's like 80 some fucking comments on that particular video. And I had a hard time keeping track of it. So you subscribe to Facebook, bam, message me and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this guy. Can you come look at this? It's on this video. Look through the comments, see my comment, and then here's his response. You're free to do that. Okay, so, please make yourself available to that. If you really feel like you're being abused or you feel like somebody's a troll, just make me aware of it. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. It's really helping grow the channel. I've kind of tapered off and plateaued a little bit after some phenomenal growth this last month, which I'm very appreciative of. So keep sharing, and subscribing. It gets the channel notice. I'm in this for the long haul, so how big this channel gets really depends on you and whatever other efforts I make. Once again, come and like me on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, and that's where the best place is to message me. Also, I want to thank all my 3 Patreons at this point. I am really working on trying to get something going for you guys so that you'll get the recognition you deserve, but I'm still wrestling with some creative issues on that one of how I want to do that. So please be patient with me, but I appreciate the support. And, hopefully I can convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. In the meantime, this is Ed Rabyd, also known as the Rabid Atheist, signing off and wishing you a good day.